If you feel like you are doing everything right, you're putting in the work, and you're still not getting the results you want when it comes to health and wellness and fitness, watch this video. I'm going to discuss a topic that most people overlook and that I think can really help you. Hi guys, it's Mona. I hope you're all doing well, staying safe and healthy. I wanted to make today's video because I thought it was very relevant to the time we're living in right now, when we have a little bit of time to reflect and go inward and really think about the things we want to self-improve on, and just, practicing loving and respecting and appreciating ourselves more in relation to diet and health and fitness and body goals. I think that there's so much we often overlook, and I've even recently learned this. When I was on my health journey, originally it was kind of just like low calorie gets the body you want, or like this food and gets you here. And I think that collectively as a society, we're learning so much more about like our energy and, our internal, our emotional happiness, and how everything really works together. If you are very aligned emotionally, spiritually, energetically, and you're happy and you feel good inside, you're just going to get such better results when it comes to trying to eat healthy or working out, versus like being a high stressed, high anxiety, unhappy person, but just not understanding why eating certain things aren't getting you the body you want. So really the bigger concept here is that we are not just like our body. Basically, our body is one aspect of us, like mind, body, soul. We've got like energy around us. There's so many different things. And this video is by no means trying to get too spiritual or religious. When I say being spiritual, that just means believing in anything. It could be the universe, it could be your faith, it's whatever you want, but it's more so just connecting to yourself. So I don't want you to think that this is any kind of like rant in that terms. That's like everyone's choice, but I've truly seen people have better results when they're more connected to themselves and when they're more aligned. And I've seen like huge shifts in body type, like just results and everything. So this is a really important video to get into. So the concept of primary food is to think about things that are not just food, everything else that affects us, and how it kind of makes us align to get the most results from our food. There's a bunch of things that primary food kind of encompasses, whether that's your relationships with other people, your career, your physical activity, your creativity, your spirituality. So I want to go through all of them and just see, like, if you are aligned in that area. You can kind of listen and think like, wait, I'm not really aligned in this area, but I am here. And these are ways to think outside the box. And I think this is going to be really helpful for a lot of people who are like, I'm doing everything right, why am I not seeing the results? Okay, so let's start with relationships. This can include your relationships with your friends, your significant other, intimacy, all sorts of relationships. Human beings in general are social creatures. Like, we like to be around people. We like to have that kind of interaction. Even if you're an introvert, which I can be at times, I want all my introverts who are watching this to think, there's certain people that don't drain your energy, that you feel so comfortable around, that you enjoy the company of, or you're okay if they're in the room with you. People have found that when you're alone for too long, when you're kind of isolating yourself, when you're not like interacting with people, which honestly is even more common right now because we do have to quarantine, this can lead to overeating, to emotional eating. And this is something I'd highly encourage everyone to try to work on when it comes to having some kind of social interaction. Even right now when you're home, if you are quarantining by yourself, just getting on FaceTime, getting on Zoom with somebody. Let's say, you don't have that many close friends and you are feeling really lonely right now. Even joining an online community. Community in general is so huge to bring happiness. And I think that even for me, I know that in certain times in my life when I was really unhappy, like, going through a really bad breakup, I would just always want to be alone and I wouldn't want to interact with people because I thought I wanted that time to kind of like sulk and be upset. But when I was around people, even if I just forced myself, even if it was just like not necessarily someone I'm talking to directly, but just having the energy of people around me, it really helped. So oftentimes emotional eating and overeating is a little bit mindless, or it's just something that we do and we don't have that interaction. So I'd really, really encourage you to try to have that social interaction with people, especially when it's a difficult time right now and it's easy to kind of get down with all the uncertainty that's going on in the world. So that's one thing I would really recommend everyone work on. I know even for me, where I live, whenever I choose an apartment, I always like it to be I personally like to be around people. I know a lot of people like nature and to be secluded, but when I lived alone, I like to look outside and see people because it made me feel less lonely. Like, you know, you're living alone and you like your own space, but like if you're completely secluded, that can get a little bit sad. So I would recommend just trying to have a little bit more of social interaction, especially if you find yourself overeating. Okay, so next let's get into physical activity. This is another aspect of primary foods, and the concept here is that when you are inactive for long periods of time, you can build up this kind of stagnant energy that can lead to unhappiness, anger, weight gain. Oftentimes it can even manifest on your skin. And I think this is something we totally overlooked before, where like, if you're eating really light or eating really healthy, but you're not working out, you wouldn't think that you would hold on to extra weight, but everything is connected and we're just learning this more and more now. There's so much data on this. So physical activity could mean whatever it means for you, a way of like just moving your body in a way that feels right. Let's say you have a really high stress, high energy job, quarantine aside. Let's say normally you're like go, go, go. Physical activity for you could be really like nice yoga, something slow, controlled, like movement, even just doing inversions, putting your feet on the wall, boosting circulation, that could really help you. Or let's say you're sitting at a desk all day, like a lot of people right now, and you just want to get some energy and move your body to release some of that. That could mean like a HIIT workout, that could mean dance cardio, it could mean just like walking around the block or doing, running on a treadmill. So whatever physical activity means for you, we all really, really need it, even if it's just for like 20 or 30 minutes a day, even if you don't feel like doing it. I promise you, even during this quarantine more than ever, there's some days where I'm just like kind of down because it's a crazy time right now and I just feel off and I don't feel like working out. But as soon as I start to and like build that heat in my body, it's just transformative. It makes me instantly feel better. So that's another thing I would really recommend, especially right now. Another part of primary food is career, and this obviously is a little bit difficult to talk about right now because it's a really sensitive time. Some people have lost their jobs, some people need the job, to make money. So I don't want to necessarily have this apply to right now in life, but I do want to cover it in general for someone who might watch this video in a year or two from now and things are back to normal. So I just want to cover it and kind of explain what it means. If you don't feel fulfilled at your career, if you don't feel like you have a purpose to it, it's kind of hard to feel like you have a purpose in life. If your career is a huge part of your life and you're doing that, most hours of the week and a 9 to 5 and you're only living for the weekend, it is really difficult to just overall feel like you're living a fulfilling life. So there's different ways to go about this. I think that, oftentimes we can't quit a career. I know I had to work as a pharmacist for 8 years, even though I hated it and I wanted to do something else. But a way I found my way out of this was building my online business and my wellness brand. And I started doing that for 5 years, or about 4 years, while I was working as a pharmacist. And I knew that eventually I hoped that I'd make it into a business so I could leave. But I will say, even the process of building that side career and like having that excitement, I wish you could have seen the person I was before. I just was like a low energy, kind of not as happy. It lit a fire inside of me like nothing else I could ever explain. So whether that means finding a hobby that you kind of want to turn into your side hustle so that you feel like you have that like passion and drive, or finding a way to take your current career and make it more enjoyable, whether that's like building more relationships at work, whether that's trying to like really put in more effort and like work for something more, building more creativity. It's really important to not hate most of your week, because that energy too and that negativity is just, it's hard to live a fully balanced life and get the results you want. What's going on right now in the world is very scary, but it's also, a time where we have a lot of time to reflect and think about what we want to do. And maybe this is a time to reflect and realize, hey, I wasn't happy with the career. Maybe you just lost your job and it sounds terrible right now, but it was a blessing in disguise because you weren't happy. So use this time, whether or not you do have a job, you don't have a job, we're all staying home more, so we have more time. Use this to reflect and like think, what would make me happy and what am I good at? And when you can combine those two, you're very lucky and that could be your career. So another aspect of primary food is creativity. So being able to express yourself creatively is so important. If you're holding things in and you're kind of like holding an emotion, it's almost just like building up inside of you. If you're not releasing things you want to say or feel, I know for me, creatively or not, if there's something that I'm feeling and I want to say, it has never worked for me to hold it in. I've even been in like relationships where I was like afraid to say it, and it's like literally like kills you inside. Like I just was so unhappy. And then even, you know, when it comes to creativity, whether that's writing, this doesn't have to be your career. This could just be your creative outlet, dancing. You have to be able to get your emotions out and not let them sit inside of you. Holding them in can literally hold energy in your cells. Like now data is showing this, like science is actually showing this. Our cells can hold stress and anxiety and so just different fears. And so if you're not creatively expressing it, you're never going to be able to release it. And that can heavily impact your results when it comes to wellness. When it comes to spirituality, it's really more so how you look at it and what you connect to. Whether this is religion, whether it's believing in the energy of the universe, whether it's connecting to nature, just something that you can connect to and almost believe in synchronicity. And like, you know, when you're thinking about someone and they call you, or, you know, you want something to happen, then it does happen. Believing that those things are meant to work for you is just huge. Because if you just think of it as like a coincidence or like everything's going negative, like your thoughts can really just impact how you feel completely. Like you really are your thoughts. So having some kind of belief in something, whatever that is and whatever feels right to you is majorly impactful. And lastly is your connection to food. I actually think this one is so important. I've personally seen results on this. When I was ordering out more, when I was just really like not connecting to the food, I felt like I wasn't digesting it as well. And there's a different kind of appreciation that you get when you cook your food, when you smell it, when you prepare it, when you put a little bit of work and love into making it. You know, energy goes into everything, and like the kind of loving energy you put into cooking your food really makes a difference. And actually the digestion process comes even when you start smelling and cooking. So the more you kind of get comfortable in the kitchen of like taking real whole foods and making them and appreciating them, like you will actually start digesting more, your body will react better to them. And this also connects to having a bad relationship with food. Like if you just look at food as like, it's going to make me fat, it has calories, versus this is going to nourish me and this is going to fuel me and I need this to live and this is going to hydrate my cells. You have to have that different connection with food. I know I've been on both spectrums where I used to just look at food as like calories, and like literally I would think the lowest calorie thing was the healthiest. It's just not the right way to go. The more you kind of align with your food this way, the better your results will be. Again, like smelling it, connecting to it, cooking it, also just gives you more of appreciation for it. And when you have more gratitude in general, it just makes you a happier person, and this will all kind of be a domino effect. So really try this and, you know, try giving the kitchen time a little bit more time. Those are kind of the primary food, you know, topics and things to try to work on. And it kind of is a domino effect. Like you don't have to like all of a sudden try to fix all of these things and work on all these things, but maybe there's one area you want to focus on. And when you kind of become connected, it all just like really works together, because again, we are not our body, we are not our mind, we are one being, and all these things kind of encompass us. And when you start to realize that and pay attention to your emotional health, your spiritual health, your physical health, your mental health, all of these things make a big difference to help you get the results you want. So I hope that was helpful. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, how you feel about this topic. If you have any stories that you've personally, you know, worked on one of these things and noticed a lot of changes in your life, I would love to hear that, and maybe even feature one of them on my social media, because I think this is a really interesting topic. So let me know in the comments. Again, stay safe and healthy. I hope you're all, you know, doing the best we can right now in quarantine. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I'll see you next time.